Late Night with Cristo Foufas on Talk Radio.
And we've got some good suggestions for product placement. Let me just look at some of the ones that you came up with a little bit earlier. Paula says, I don't mind product placement, but please don't ever let me see the scene in on Golden Pond, where Katharine Hepburn clears the table and throws 2 Coke cans in the bin. Thank you for that. My favourite old film, says Glyn, is A Matter of Life and Death, and it would be an absolutely appalling tragedy using product placement on such a masterpiece. Some things are sacred and should be treated as such. Thank you. James says Rear Window could be a Canon or Olympus. Thank you for that. Constantino's just said Calamity Jane was my favourite old film. We've got some good suggestions from you two behind the glass, which I don't say very often. I don't think I've ever said those words. Wizard of Oz, the ruby slippers could be Clark's. They could be on Louboutin, surely, wouldn't they? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory would have dairy milk bars in the... yeah. Well, no, but what about the Willy Wonka? You have to be very careful the way you say that, don't you? Very careful. I very nearly called him Willy something else, which may well have meant that he had entered Parliament. Legally Blonde. You see in Aliens. Another one here as well. Gemma Collins as the first female Bond, says Dorothy. You're just handing Steve Allen material on a plate now. I don't think I am. Isn't he off again this week? Ye gods. Honestly, it would be nice to actually tune in and see the Steve Allen show presented by Steve Allen. It's so rare nowadays. The Shining takes place in a Premier Inn. Most people would probably feel that, wouldn't they? I wouldn't keep making bitchy comments. He didn't sound well last week. Oh, I think that's about Steve Allen. All right, I'll take that back. In fairness, he makes bitchy comments about me every single programme that he presents, and I don't know why. I said this last week. I don't know why. Well, I've not worked with him for 5 years. I actually wish him well. I hope everything is good for him. I hope his life is happy. I hope he's okay. And if he is not in again because he's not well, then I wish him to get well soon. I was sort of pulling my own and your leg when I said that before. You know, at one point in my life, can I be actually completely honest with you about Steve Allen? And I probably shouldn't say it, but I will, because in radio terms, you're never supposed to mention other presenters. I loved that man. I adored him. I really did. When I first met him, he was quite prickly towards me, understandably, because he's a bit prickly towards a lot of people that he meets. But I considered that we were buddies. And I was really sad when he decided that I was no longer someone that he wanted to be kind about anymore for some reason. It was because, I'll tell you why it was, because we used to banter about each other on each other's show, and he would take the mickey out of me on his show and I would take the mickey out of him on my show, and then he heard me doing it on my show once and got really, really annoyed about it. Even though we'd been doing it for ages, right? And so, and I remember texting him afterwards going, oh God, look, I'm really sorry if I've offended you. I really am. Like, I'm so sorry. Maybe we should stop. Maybe we should stop doing this then. Like, you know, taking the mickey out of each other because it's getting too far. And even though I did that, he still got the audio clipped and took it to the bosses and said, this is what he's done. And that really devastated me because he was essentially trying to throw me under the bus. And we never spoke again since. And since then, he slagged me off every single possible show that he could. And he slagged me off over my time at Loose Women. And he slagged me off since for about 5 years. And he still does every single show. And it's sad because I don't listen to him. I don't have any idea. At one point after the Loose Women stuff, when there had been a debacle on one of my Loose Women shows, and ITV actually came to me and said, you know that this man is libeling you every single day practically because there's something called jigsaw identification because all his audience knew he was talking about me. So they were logging at one point what he was saying about me. And I think one show he mentioned me something like 36 times in an hour, hanging me from the yard arm because I was the producer. The producer's the worst thing in the world, knowing it was me being the producer of this particular show where things had gone wrong. So he kind of got a bit weird, if I'm honest. And so I've no idea how it got to the stage it got to, but I've not helped. I've not made very great comments on Twitter about him at times as well, because, sometimes I'm not a perfect person either. But you know what? I don't hold him any animosity. He was incredibly kind to me and the first in my career. He used to actually support me covering him at times, which he very rarely did with anyone. And so I think maybe I'm in an older and wiser place now that I can appreciate what he gave me. And if he feels the need to slag me off every day as he did, then if that makes him feel better about things, then fair play. I'm happy for him to do that. I think it's a bit sad and a bit unwise and quite unjustified, because I have not spoken to him since the incident where we fell out. And that's life. I think it just happens sometimes, and people in this business have slight egos, but he is an incredibly nice man. He has been at times to lots of people, and I wish him well. And that's all I got to say. Who are you talking about? It's Steve Allen. It's the guy on LBC that I used to be friends with, and we used to have a lot of banter when we used to do handovers, and I used to do a show before his and all of those sorts of things. And I haven't said anything wrong there, have I? I do hope he's all right. I don't know whether I will never know why he feels the need to say these things about me every show. And failed Loose Women presenter, fat, shredded wheat on my head, faking my gout, all of these things constantly. I don't really know why. Hey ho. Brush it off, Krista, says Julie. Well, I kind of do. What can you do? And I only know he does it because people tweet me and say, that he's talking about you again during his show. And I just say, oh, good grief. Whatever. Well done. Movie product placement. 1941's The Wolfman.